At the end of the day, we're in the comfort heating and cooling business, and how we do it is the products we sell. And that's huge. If you don't get it right, it doesn't matter what the customer says. I want efficiency. I want this. I want that. If they're uncomfortable, that's all they care about.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, like, comment. If you're listening to this over on the podcast, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever it is, it's a bit available on all platforms. Please leave us a 5-star review to help us get out to more people. I love doing this because it is good conversations with good people. Anybody is welcome. If you guys ever want to be a guest on this show, if you guys listen or watch any of my content, go ahead and message me. Come on, tell your story. That's what it's about. If there's any sponsors that want to reach out and support the show, go ahead and also reach out to me. My email's posted everywhere. reliablehvacr956@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of me. Speaking of sponsors, today's episode is brought to you by my favorite CRM, Jobber. If you guys want to use a software that helps us boost our business, whether it's invoicing, quoting, scheduling, keeping track of your team, price lists, our maintenance plan is in there. Now they help you with marketing and running campaigns through emails, all that stuff. And you can talk to your customer through texting in the customer hub. They can request work. You never have to pick up the phone. They can actually request work online through text. You can tell them that you're on the way. All the stuff that you would expect from a professional CRM. If you guys want a free trial and discount, go to getjobber.com/reliablehvacr. Also, VETO Pro Pack, the best tool bags in the game. I know people tell me the first thing is always the price. Let me tell you, other brands that I used to get at the supply house never lasted me. So in that short amount of time, I was buying several of those bags when I could just buy one VETO Pro Pack tool bag. And if you want to go check them out, go to vetopropack.com. You can also get them at any supply house or place that you buy equipment. They usually have VETO Pro Pack, and they just came out with the MB3 Blackout, which I am super excited for because I actually had a hand in some major design in that bag, and I hope to continue to work with that. But I use the MB3 Blackout as my favorite. I also use the Wheelers. I use a lot of their tote bags. I even have something in my van that just holds bottles and miscellaneous things, and it's made by them too. They have a bag for every scenario, so you won't be disappointed. Go check out VETO Pro Pack. And if you go to their website, go to the customer profile, you'll find me in there. You can learn a little bit more about me, and you'll probably see a lot of these YouTubers and people on Instagram that you might watch in that section. And when you're ready to level up your business, you can join BOSCH Home Comfort Pro. When you sign up, you get exclusive deals, priority technical support, and free marketing and advertising resources. By choosing BOSCH, you can represent one of the largest HVAC brands in the market with over 100 years of industry expertise. Join today at boschhomecomfort.us/HC Pro. And a big thanks to all the sponsors that make this show possible. And moving forward, you'll hear more from local HQ marketing, Navien, and DIVERSITECH throughout the show. And don't forget that I have another podcast/live stream every Thursday night, the HVAC Nights. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's me, Jake, and Curtis. You might know them already. And we just talk shop about our work week and life stuff. It gets crazy. It gets uncensored. It's a fun time. So come check us out live every Thursday on YouTube. And it's available on all podcast platforms later that week. If you ever want to keep up to date with anything that I use, whether it's tool recommendations, Camel City Mill socks have been really great for me, and the Huxley work pants. I have discounts for a lot of these things that I use. You can find them in my website, reliablehvacr.net. So like I said, tool link, recommendations, discounts. I got merch there. You can request stickers. I will have my arm sleeves up for sale soon, so make sure to keep an eye out there. And if you just remember to go to the website, you'll always keep up to date with everything. On today's episode, we have Travis Kaser, who's been all around the HVAC industry, trade school, training, helping out with design and different aspects on the engineering side and manufacturing. So Navien went out and got him, and now he's helping with their new NPF hydro furnace. They've entered, the HVAC industry now. That you know them for their water-based solutions or water heaters, tankless, all that kind of stuff. And now they're getting into hydronic heating. So I'm going to let Travis explain, because they have this forced air furnace that is all hydronic. It delivers industry leading variable capacity operation that goes from 15 to 100% in both natural and propane configurations. Learn more at navieninc.com, but I'm going to let Travis explain, because he actually deals with this and trains, and he goes over from beginning to end on using it, installing it, the efficiency, and why you would want to get one.
I think we're waiting for it to get a little bit colder, but not too
So
terribly bad.
where are you based out of?
I am out of Kansas, right outside of Wichita. So,
Oh, okay.
air capital of the world, as you can see, kind of an aviation enthusiast when I'm not doing HVAC stuff.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever been around that type of stuff, or just something you kind of like to dabble in?
Yeah, kind of an air show thing. Kind of they're everywhere here in Wichita. Boeing's out of here, Cessna, Beechcraft. So yeah, every which way you turn here in Wichita, there's a plane either over you, beside you, or wherever. So
Oh, I get you. I get you. That's cool, man. Are you a fan of the Top Gun movies and
yeah,
all that?
yes, I would have to say that self-proclaimed super fan. How about that? So
I need to watch the new one, man. I haven't had a chance to see it.
you're missing out. It's definitely awesome. I think we've seen it 2 or 3 times now. So.
That's awesome, man. So real quick, can you just kind of introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers and kind of what you do?
I am Travis Kaiser. I am the national technical training for Navien. I am on the HVAC side. Every time I do a training, I kind of have to tell that is I've been doing HVAC in this sort of role and others for OEMs for about 20 plus years. So I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know anything about the water side. So if anybody asks me anything about the Navien tank list and stuff like that, I have to say, well, I have to defer to our experts on that. But HVAC, that's really been my thing for kind of made a pretty good career out of it.
So then, that was going to be one of my questions. Is are you in this HVAC side of it, and how long? So you've been in it 20 plus years.
Correct.
Have you been any other, like, in the field, or just with these manufacturers as far as that?
No, I've actually it started out as a model maker at one of the OEMs, and I built test units so from the ground up. So the engineers would come out and say, "Hey, we're trying to make this unit this efficiency," and I would braze it up. I would just put the pieces together, and then I wanted a little bit more. Everybody else, wants to move through. Really, that kind of tinkering was my passion. So uh, during or for that OEM, they had
Mhm.
what they called the test side of it. So the psychometric test cells. So I went to tech school because that was the way to get in there. I knew nothing about HVAC,
Oh,
and got the second shift job. At that point, I kind of realized I didn't know half the stuff I needed to know. So I worked. This was my younger years. I worked 2 jobs. One in the field during first shift, and then second shift I worked in the test labs, and I did that for about 6 or 7 years, and then kind of that elevated my career, and I went into kind of the test services and tech services of that role, where we put in the units in field trials. So I supported those, installed those, and did a lot of that, and then moved through training, did some commercial, and then even for some OEMs, I did some heavy commercial with quoting replacement chillers for hospitals, stuff like that.
Oh, so you've done quite a bit in your
Yeah,
career, like
yeah,
servicing, installing, chiller work, and then you've been on the design side, testing, all that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's I broke a lot of stuff. That's my story, and I think that's why I think I'm fairly good. I kind of see on the outside, and I understand how the contractors and have even been there. You know, sometimes it's not black and white. Sometimes we have to figure out how to apply this equipment, and I think that's really how I've succeeded in the career and moved so far.
And well, that's awesome because sometimes I feel like certain manufacturers don't have somebody that's been in the field or been around, you know, how this equipment works outside of a
Agreed.
test lab. And
Agreed.
I'm like, I don't think they were thinking this through, but having somebody who's been through it, you've been through the tech school, through the trial and error phase of it, and then you're here with Navien doing their HVAC stuff, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and it's exciting when they reached out to me. I was doing it all at card. I was doing training. You probably are very familiar with kind of the. It's hard to find good trainers. It's
Oh
hard to
yeah.
find any trainers or even technicians that have been trained correctly to even just service the equipment. And that's where we're at. And so it's been a very lucrative career. And then Navien reached out to me and said, "Hey, you know, we've heard a lot of good things. We've seen your stuff. Will you come train on this new product?" And I didn't say yes right out of the bat. I asked a lot of hard questions. I definitely didn't want to train on something that uh, didn't really fit the market and or I didn't believe in. And then they sent me the specs. They sent me an MPF, and I looked it over and I'm like, man, this is easy. They're going to pay me for this. So I mean, it was, and that's how it went. So here we are. So
So yeah, like basically, I like you touched on earlier. I know Navien for their tankless heaters and their water um, type of equipment. What are they doing with the HVAC equipment? Like, what is it that they're? I know it's like one of the ones that we're going to talk about is kind of new. I think it came out a couple years ago or a year ago. And what are they getting into on the HVAC side?
So that is that. I mean, that's what really took me by surprise. I was on the same side just for
Yeah,
the wholesale. I mean, everybody has heard of Navien, and I'm like, okay, how is this going to play out? What is this? And then obviously, I asked those questions. And what are they doing? Uh, is answering a lot of the questions from an application side of a furnace of forced heating and air and split systems, ducted systems, and that's refreshing, for lack of a better word, for what they're doing. They've answered a lot of the questions, and I don't want to really down talk any of the other manufacturers because everybody has good equipment there, and it's just how you apply it and are the
it's how you apply it and how you install it too.
how you install it. Right. So, but take all of that out. There are certain nuances. I used to install equipment, and then when you would install a certain piece of equipment, you'd say, okay, when I install this, I know it has this deficiency in
Hmm.
this application, so I have to do this to make it work. So I don't have a callback. Callbacks are expensive. And really, I've yet to find that with the MPF, believe it or not. So they've answered, instead of taking a box and evolving it through maybe minimum efficiencies or regulations that you have to do in the same box, they've really came out and addressed a lot of the comfort and application issues with a furnace. So easy to install, easy to service, and easy to apply.
Yeah, when I was looking it up, it. I mean, I'm also like kind of a tech nerd, so like seeing all that technology, uh,
Right.
in there was interesting to me. But you're saying that's going to be easy to service and work on and all that.
Yeah,
I think that's
and I
everybody's like main,
agree
main.
with you. When I first saw the picture of this, I'm like, there may be some alien technology in there. I don't know, because there was a little bit different for me. But yes, once you really dive into it, the numbers. If you look at the tech guide, you look at the numbers, they're impressive. And we even rate in black and white. You see it at 1 inch total external static pressure. Okay,
Okay.
that's including the filter. That's during cooling mode. That's with the coil full saturated. So the most resistance you've got there, and we give 1 inch. You're going to have nominal airflow at 1 inch total external static pressure. Most manufacturers rate their equipment at a half an inch, and you and I both know good luck getting that. I mean, I don't even have it at my house. Okay. And
Yeah.
I don't even think I could get a half an inch. So from that side of it's huge, because now I don't have to compensate, or I don't have to sacrifice maybe reliability or something like that with the homeowner, because obviously contractors are the face of the homeowner. We're the last business, at least in my opinion, that sells at the kitchen table. You can order a car and sure they'll deliver it to your house, but that person sitting across the table talking about comfort, at the end of the day, we're in the comfort heating and cooling business, and how we do it is the products we sell. And that's huge. If you don't get it right, it doesn't matter what the customer says. I want efficiency, I want this, I want that. If they're uncomfortable, that's all they care about.
Yeah, especially I'm in Texas, so comfort
Yeah,
comfort is a big deal. And
exactly.
I'm by the coast on the south side, like humidity, like all this other stuff plays into part. This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free.
And then now they brought me in to help train the trainers and bring the wholesalers, which is really kind of my wheelhouse, and the contractors to understand just exactly what the NPF is. And the answer to that is it's just a furnace. It may look a little bit different. It may feel a little bit different, but it is a standard furnace any which way you cut it.
Yeah, can you explain what it is and how somebody would go about like putting one in their house? Because when Navien came to me, we started talking, like I was a little bit confused. I'm like, is this only for heating? Can I put this with my existing condenser, stuff like that? And how do I get cooling on it if it's really like a heating furnace type of deal?
Gotcha. Yeah, and there is a little bit of that. So let me take a couple of things that are kind of misconstrued about when they just say Navien, because everybody thinks water, and
Yeah.
Navien is navigating efficiency and navigating the comfort. So yes, we use water, we don't consume water, and that's the big thing that people don't understand. The NPF has a reservoir at the bottom that we fill with water. And if you're willing to drink it, I tell it in my trainings, if you're willing to drink it, as long as you're not a survivalist, because they will drink some stuff that we won't even look at, and not distilled water. If you're willing to drink it, put it in the NPF, just tap water. When in doubt, bottled water is fine. But it's looping through the system. It's not consuming it. It's not using it. It's not dumping it. It's not pumping it in and then dumping it into a drain.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing, because people think, well, I'm going to have a huge water bill. That's not it.
Yeah, because I think I saw an explanation or a quick explanation of it, and it was like you won't have to fill it often because it's just a closed loop, right?
Yeah, and we do have an automatic fill option on the side, but really what we're seeing, and there are some field trial units that are going on a couple of years old that have yet to be even topped off. So what I guess from a service side is what we expect is, contractors are going to be, or we hope you're out there pre-service before it gets cold. So you're just going to top it off, and topping it off is just like the top of a water bottle. It's really nothing. The only thing that is the reason the water gets a little bit low is because it's not a pressurized system. So there's evaporation.
It's going to escape
somewhere. And yeah, depending on where you're at, that evaporation may be a little bit more or less. The furnace will run even at a half full and give full capacity on that. So it's the interface. People are a little worried about, okay, am I filling this up, or is the homeowner filling this up every week? Absolutely not. And again,
Okay.
it's a standard furnace. You don't have to think about your other furnace. You don't have to think about the MPF.
So then,
But
oh, go ahead.
no, just I would just finish on that. Is it's really it's once you understand that it's really no big deal. And I tell a lot of the contractors, again, I'm not a water guy. I'm not hooking up the automatic fill. Everything I touch, plumbing leaks. So I know it. I know my weakness.
Well, that was my concern about like hooking up a water source to it, is like the, potential leaks or
Sure.
corrosion, anything like that. So I wasn't sure how often you had to fill it, but I did hear that it was like maybe once a year or 9 months. I can't remember what it was exactly.
Yeah. And
That you would
that's
need
worst
to.
case scenario. And I say worst case scenario. That's really it's no big deal. And if you forget it a year, again, it's gonna perform. It's gonna
It doesn't
work.
have to be like filled to the brim for it to work
Cool.
and heat.
Nope.
Okay.
There's only two times that it has to be filled 100%. The first time you fire it up, and Service Wizard goes through and checks everything for you. To give an example, maybe you're there at the clean and check on preseason, and you really wouldn't even take the door off. It has the NPF has the front screen, and this is obviously separate to the furnace, but on the furnace, if this was a furnace that I was holding up, this is on the front of the furnace. You can access that obviously with the door on. So I just show up, I get into the service menu and summon the service wizard, as I so lovingly call it. And it does the self check. During that time, it does need to be filled all the way up, because
Okay.
not because it needs that to work, it's checking to make sure the high level water sensor is actually working. So it's checking all of those little pieces. And that's why it's so easy to service. Is a lot of our trainings in previous roles and previous trainings I have done, there's a lot of good technology out there in the HVAC world, and you've probably talked about it or even been exposed to that. But the complexity is is somewhat annoying. I mean, let's just get it out there. And with this, there's no complexity to it.
Okay.
It's I access a menu, I scroll down to what I want it to do, and it does it. Yes, every time I see a plug, every time I see a sensor, I have to know, as a technician, I may get anxiety. It's like, okay, is that a resistance? Is that a voltage? What is it? And then is it within range? Well, with this, I just summon that service wizard. It goes through. And if something is out of range or if something isn't right, it tells me. So, it really even enhances the customer experience, because now that technician gets elevated. Let's say that I'm working on it. I don't know. It kicks something out.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, now I have the option, and hey, it's Saturday. Am I going to call any other OEM? Well, you can call Navien. Operators are standing by, right? So you get one of our techs on the phone on a Saturday, and you just read the screen. And now the dialogue is fixing the NPF or fixing that maybe potential issue or setting that maybe they got wrong, or I call it the brother-in-law effect. Maybe somebody had touched it and now it's out. Those happen. And from that, it's real easy. So now the next time that the technician has to service, or the next time that they're working on an NPF, there's not that anxiety. They understand that not only can they are competent as a technician, but they also, everything else, they've got the support. So
Well, if you have tech support on the weekends, that's a big win already.
it's huge. It's huge. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I have to
Saturday and Sunday. It's
I have to
big.
wait sometimes for Monday. It's like, oh, call between our normal hours or anything like that. But
Right.
having because I deal, and everything now is electronic. There's no way around it. I deal
Agreed.
with because I'm mostly on the refrigeration side, so I see a lot of ice machines with
Man.
similar touchpads and screens,
Mhm.
the walk-in coolers and freezers, stuff like that. And having an easy interface means the world to me, because I can go in there. Some of them might be password protected. It's fine, whatever. But once you get in there, if if you know where you're going and it's labeled out easily for you, and you have a test mode to kind of do these things, that's a big win. Because I have these other controllers that I've worked on where it's like I have just the other day I had to pull up and flip through like 5 or 6 manuals that I had just to
Right.
understand what these little abbreviations and codes were, because
Exactly.
it's not laid out for you. But and those don't have like a test mode, so I was having to go in there and actually check each input output, like everything that it was doing. And
Yeah, you're following the road, and we used to do that on the old sun lines. You know, you had
yeah,
four pages, and you're following the ladder diagram and the wiring diagram through these as you're going through, and you're testing those voltages and those resistance. I get it,
yeah,
man.
like I checked these little
Hey,
coolers, and I'm like, I
yeah,
don't remember what PA means. I don't remember what HY, like what are these like letters, like I don't know what they are. So like
exactly.
now having these newer equipments, because like I've seen this on other, styles, like I said, ice machines or whatever, and it's just like, here's what happened, here's the error, and here's, sometimes it'll tell you how to, like, what to look for or fix, and
It gives
that's
you an
helpful.
idea, right? Instead of just a blinking light. And I'm going to tell you, I'm
Oh, the
glad
blinking
that there's
lights,
no
yeah.
blinking lights on here. I have stared at furnaces before, and I'm like, was that a 7? Was that an 8? You know, you're totally second guessing even just the basic, can I count to 10?
You got to count
So,
it several times, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Like I said, having the service where you go in there and you can check it, test it. I do that plenty of times with, if it offers that, I always do that.
Yeah.
With my troubleshooting, because I have some that, they act up, go into test mode, see what's failed, and it does make it easier if you know how to use it. And I've had some, if you guys are training and doing all that as well, that's helpful too, because I've had other equipment that, like you said, somebody might go in there and not know what they're doing, push a bunch of buttons, and then like they're like, I don't know why it's not working. Well, nothing is set right. So
Yeah, right.
being able to be trained, and if you guys give training, that's a good plus too. I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their product or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC.
We definitely have a lot of support on the training side. Each one of the regions has their own trainer, and as this grows and as we launch our outdoor product, that's next year, obviously, when 454B and that transition happens, and this grows, we will add more resources, and we've definitely seen that. And if you're familiar with the Navien product, they have definitely done that with the other products as they grow. So again, that's just one of many of the things that impressed me about Navien, and it just makes sense where others may not see the necessity of customer support and or pushed off training to maybe a third party, or put it at the local level and say, here, you deal with it, here's the instruction manual, call us if you need anything. Navian's like, no, wait a minute, we'll do it, and oh, by the way, let me show you. So it's refreshing. You've been, we've talked about that, kind of in front of a piece of equipment going, the sweat's dripping down our face, and we're just like, whew, did I pick the right career? Wait a minute, is this the end of my skills? So
That's always a thought when you see something new as well. But if you have the resources, I mean, that goes, way
it's huge.
beyond. Yeah, it's huge. So then how? So this is typically like it's basically like a gas furnace, right? You hook up gas to it, you install it in your wherever attic, whatever. You guys have horizontal and vertical um,
Correct.
models, and then why would somebody go with this kind of product versus like whatever they get or whatever they had before?
Oh, it's huge. Well, so that there's a couple of answers to that. The first, we'll address the first one, and the first one is the contractor. Why would the contractor buy an NPF? And we've touched on a couple of things: ease of service, Ease of setup. This installs just like any other furnace. It is modulating from 15 to 100%, and that's a huge deal. 15% because we heat water. We're heating that water into that coil. We're blowing air over it instead of air to air like traditional heat exchangers. Then we're able to adjust comfort. So let me take you through this. The MPF, when I'm setting it up and the contractor is there, it's going to ask you what do you want the discharge air temperature to be? And it can be all the way up to 150 degrees. You can't do that on a standard furnace. I'm going to use my air quotes. You can overfire it, you could play with the blower, but you can't guarantee me if I want 120 degrees coming out of my discharge air, you can't say, okay, you're going to get that. And because we don't have in-shot burners, we can modulate down to that 15%. So really from a comfort level, from a setup level, if I have a customer, I'm the contractor, the customer says, it's a little bit chilly in here, or maybe they have an older home, it's a little bit drafty, then I have the opportunity to adjust that furnace, the MPF, to maybe give it a little bit warmer air coming out of the registers. And that's huge without having to manipulate the system maybe outside a manufacturer spec, or if I'm overfiring a unit, I have the potential to fail that heat exchanger. So all of those are huge. The 1-inch total external static pressure is huge on this product. It does say in our installation, and I like to take this amount of time to talk about that, is if you look at our installation manual, it does say in heating mode 0.5. We know you're going to land around 0.5, 0.6, 0.7. We're having a little bit less airflow in heating mode. So if you make that 1 inch, when it goes into its firing rate, when it goes into the modulation on heating mode, you're within spec on that. So some people have asked, it says 1 inch and a half inch here. So super easy. 1 inch is huge on that. We're not having the failed. Some of the manufacturers say half an inch. Now we know, and contractors ask and say, well, it's an ECM blower motor.
Yeah.
Every other year I'm replacing these with other manufacturers. And I just show them our blower performance table. I said, it's black and white. It's right here. Like, we're not hiding anything. We publish it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that should help with that, because I know guys that replace them like that those are their calls for like most of the summer, is just replacing ECM motors.
It's crazy. And they don't have any, I mean, the customer's not like, I'm gonna add ductwork, or maybe they can't. So from an application, it's easy to apply the NPF. And you're not having to make concessions or worry about the longevity of the equipment. So we've really taken the contractor in mind. It's a standard thermostat. And we know, that controls are huge. From a customer level, if this was a communicating control, and not to knock on communicating controls, some communicating controls are very, and some would argue all of them are very capable, but they're technical orientated. So they're made for the technician. It gives out the readings. It makes setup maybe easy. But the homeowner that interfaces with it every single day looks at it and goes, how do I set my schedule? Oh, it may be a little bit hard. Or, and again, this is crazy, but there are some thermostats that you can load pictures to, right? And the homeowner wants that. That's maybe another time. Maybe we'll discuss that some other time. But that's what the customer wants. And you have to say, well, if you want this, you can't have that. And that's never really a good thing to have with a customer. So you can use whatever thermostat you want, even a Honeywell round Mercury stat. Not that I'm recommending that, but if your customer is dedicated to that, this furnace is going to modulate, because
there's people that still have those. I've seen
them. They do. I've seen them. I'm not judging. So on that, you can apply this equipment and you don't have to tell your customer no. And that's
so there's no retrofitting, there's
yes.
no special wiring. It's just whatever thermostat you got.
And if you can wire a thermostat on a single stage piece of equipment, you in a standard single stage like an 8080, you can wire the MPF.
Okay.
You have options, and that's what's awesome. So really, and you're not, it's still modulating from the 15 to the 100%. There are pieces of equipment out there that you don't have to use the communicating equipment, but then it turns into like a 5 or a
Yeah.
7 stage piece of equipment. So you're really potentially sacrificing comfort. You don't have to do that with the MPF. So that's really the highlight of why a contractor, and then why a homeowner would choose this. Safety. There are no byproducts of combustion that ever enter the airstream. It's a sealed combustion. We're not putting it through that heat exchanger that's in the airstream. So there's nothing of that. If you've seen the pictures, you notice that we don't even have pressure switches on our equipment. What's the number one warranted but misdiagnosed part in equipment? It's actually the control board. Number two, the pressure switch. So
Yeah, I had to
yeah,
ask how to check those early in my career because I'm like, I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. Exactly. And it's the number one thing when I was on the phone talking to contractors, and that's it, and you're going through that. They're mystery. They're full of magic. So, that goes to the simplicity, but it also goes to the safety. And again, comfort, 15 to 100%, to be able to apply that in most applications with whatever stat that you want. I mean, why not? And then plus, I hate to talk about price. I am the technical trainer, but you can't deny that most of the prices and where we land in the price range, it makes it real easy. If the customer wants that certain piece of equipment with the communicating control, they're going to buy it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what they want. But if they want certain things or they want to keep certain stuff, it really allows that flexibility to apply this product. And that's really, you have to be flexible in this market.
Yeah, I think that's important. So then you guys are selling the furnace, the MPF, and it can be hooked up to any condenser, any condensing unit.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
as long as it's not communicating. I
yeah.
just have to preface that. So if it requires a communicating stat, we recommend, like let's say you have a modulating piece of equipment that requires a communicating stat, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to put the MPF in that particular. But it's a niche market. That's really not what we're playing. But 99% of other applications, yes, the MPF will work.
Yeah, and I think we touched on it. The only concern that I had when people questioned me on it was, am I hooking up gas and water to it? But like you said, you don't have to worry
You
about
don't,
it once you install it. You just fill it up and that's it. Um,
right?
and then it does work on gas. Is there? This also
And
works
propane,
with.
the propane kit comes with it,
Oh, you can
just
do
like
propane.
the other Navien. Yeah, and when I was doing LP kits, I have to do it twice because I would always get one of those orifices wrong. I'd either set it too far in or too far out, so it would either wouldn't light or it would light too hard. This one is, it's like it was built for some of my inconsistencies. 6 screws, one orifice, and it's done.
Okay.
And then we have 2 dip switches, and then you set a dip switch on the side. I lovingly call this the boopity boop. You set a switch on that, and it's LP. You're
And
done.
you can switch. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
Hey, options are always great. You never
options are
know.
great. Right?
Yeah, you never know. You never know what you're dealing with your customer. Like they might not be able to do this or that, and then you got to make it work. So,
Right.
good option there. And then it also works with heat pumps too, right? Like you can
Yes.
put this with a heat pump to get, I guess, more efficiency.
Well, efficiency it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the efficiency. Efficiencies have gone this way. So MPF is 97% AFUE. So when I am in heating mode and the furnace is fired, it's ramping up and down. It's giving me that supplier temperature based off of the settings that I have, and that's it. In the heat pump mode, obviously that's on the outside equipment. Yes, where the MPF enhances that is our blower performance. So we allow to get that airflow profile, and you're not under air. What we're seeing is because some of the manufacturers can't give nominal airflow at higher total external static, you've got a lot of callbacks on the heat pump side, and or you're turning that heat pump off earlier on when it doesn't get as cold because of some of the concerns with airflow or application. And you may not have to do that with the MPF because we have such a robust blower motor, and we're very generous with the static pressure. So that could be inefficient because you could use the outdoor equipment or the heat pump maybe a little bit lower temperature outside. But again, it depends on, currently it depends on the manufacturer that you select for your outdoor equipment.
And then I know we talked about comfort because I was talking with somebody that is dealing, I think he was installing heat pumps, and he was debating on what kind of equipment to go with. And the thing is, like, I've never installed a heat pump, so I don't know how they work exactly, but they, as far as comfort, are you getting any, like when you go into heat mode on one of these NPFs, is there any like, because his discomfort is like when it runs, like it's turning off and it blows cold air or something like that. Like, are you going to have any of that with the NPF, or does it modulate for any of that for comfort?
So in heating mode, I guess clarify the question. Are you talking about when it's in heat pump mode, or are you talking about when it's in furnace mode?
I'm gonna talk about furnace mode.
Okay, so yeah, it preheats. So there's a lot of comfort features that you could set as a contractor, and you can even adjust these without resetting them. So you can go back into the menus if the customer calls and says, "Hey, I need some adjustments for my comfort." But you can set the airflow. A couple of things with this: you've got plus or minus 15%, which is a lot more than what some other manufacturers have on your airflow once you select that. So yes, if you're worried about colder registered temperatures, you do have that opportunity to manipulate the blower to get warmer registered temperatures. And again, I can actually ramp up my supplier temperature in the heat pump mode, and that ramp between. I'm taking a little bit of reading between the lines. I imagine what his concern is there are some times to where it transitions from heat pump mode into furnace mode. Maybe it's, a little too cold outside, or that's where the low temperature cutout is. And yes, I get a little bit of cool air coming out during that because the heat exchanger hasn't had time to heat up. Not really an issue with the furnace because there's a couple of things. That water is in that hydronic coil. Okay, it doesn't drain out. It's all a loop. So you're heating that water and keeping that water close to whatever your return air temperature is at that time because it's there, it's warm, it's conditioned. And then the furnace fires up, then it preheats the water, then the blower comes on. So you're not going from this cold metal heat exchanger and then I have to heat that air up, and it has to be up to temperature within that 30 or 45 seconds. So that's, it works from that. And the likelihood of having that cold blow air is highly unlikely.
I mean, I don't have too much of that here in Texas. Like, it gets cold
you can't relate. It's okay.
Here it gets like 40, 50 degrees, and I'm like, it's whatever when we turn the heat on. If you're putting this in as your furnace, if this is your choice, or a contractor sells it to their customer, if they want to add cooling to it, you can just, how does that work? Like, are you just adding the coil? Are you adding it to another furnace? Like, how does that work?
So currently it is just how you would apply any equipment. Navien could have come out with a 410A unit, but as and how the furnace launched, it really wouldn't make sense from a business standpoint and really from a market standpoint to come out with a 410A unit and then sell it for a year and then phase it out, right? So really currently, up until the 454B changeover, which is right around the corner, then any loose coil match with any equipment, and they all have them, that's it. So you apply the furnace, you pick the NPF, whether you want the 60 or 100, and then you pick your outdoor equipment. You put the coil on top of it, you run your line sets, you got your outdoor equipment. So whatever equipment you pick, you set that up accordingly. You're going to wire it the same, Y1, Y2, and it connects to just like any other furnace, and that's it. You're going to hook up your accessories and done. And our accessories are just like any other furnace. It's clearly marked on the control board, so you know where to put the wires.
So if you need cooling, you just have to add that coil, and
Yeah,
it's as easy as what you're used to.
yeah. It's the only some of the hiccup are the AHRI is some of the contractors don't understand, or even some of the wholesalers don't understand the loose coil matches, and that's just on AHRI. You pick the equipment, and instead of it saying a model number where the furnace is at, it just says CFM, and
Okay,
the MPF delivers that amount of CFM. That's an AHRI match.
I got you. Yeah, because when I had seen it, I was like, where is the cooling? Because like we're in
Right.
Texas, so I know
Yeah,
some
that's
places
where really where you're at. You're just like, yeah, I need something to keep me cool. So I
because
get it, and
I
that will happen.
I know some places up north like that they need this kind of equipment because this can work with it being water based and all that. This can work in extreme cold conditions, correct?
No, 100%. Anywhere where you would apply any other condensate furnace, you can apply this. You can add up to 30% glycol, which, based off of my math, I think it gets you down to like -17. You can't run 100% because the heat transfer rate at 100%, it would actually derate the furnace. That's
Okay.
why it's the 30%. Then all you have to do is what you have to do with any other furnace that produces water during the heating cycle is you have to take precautions of that trap for the condensate trap not to freeze. But you're doing that anyways with any other furnace. So yeah, there's also a freeze protection on this furnace. The furnace will cycle and run. So if it gets below or it senses that below that 50 degrees, it starts to turn the water. So let's say I'm not heating the water, it doesn't call for heat, but it sees that it's getting cool. As long as the furnace has power, and that's with obviously anything else, then it will cycle the water and it will move that through. And then if it continues to get cooler, it will light the furnace, but it won't run the blower. It'll just light the furnace and warm that water
Yeah.
and keep it from freezing. So
You got
not really an issue. That is a concern. A lot of people see water, they think freezing. It's not an issue.
yeah, because like I guess I have to keep in mind, like I said, people that are in the extreme conditions because I'm like, okay, that doesn't happen, but it happens up
Right.
north, and that's where you see more of these hydronic equipment anyway, is up
Mhm.
up in those areas. And that I mean that's what this is. It's just it's hydronic heating, and
Mhm.
it's like you said, very efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not drying out the air because
Does that
obviously
help with humidity then?
it's
You're
huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. Yeah. We've had some, even on some of our field trials, that yes, I'm not saying don't install a humidifier. You still may want that humidifier, that humidification. Okay. But the difference is the humidistat is actually satisfying with the other furnaces, the other standard furnaces. We were drying out the air so much that the humidistat never even got close to satisfying. It was just dumping the water into the airstream at the best it could. And what we're seeing in our field trials and what we're seeing even in applications currently is that humidistat is actually satisfying, which means we're meeting the humidity requirements because we're not drawing so much out during the combustion process. And
Okay.
that's a comfort thing. And that's huge for the customers. We've had a lot of contractors call us back and say that they're rock stars because that comfort level with the MPF, because it's not so dry in the house, is huge. We've even had a couple of contractors talk about how they were able to apply the MPF in some non-industrial commercial applications, museums or something like that, where humidity was a huge issue,
Oh
and
yeah.
but yet they had to provide heat.
Okay. Yeah, I had that written down as a quick bullet point because uh like you said, you draw out the air, or dry out the air with traditional heating, and then with the hydronic one, I heard that somewhere that they were using it or using their humidifier less because now with this they were able to meet when
Right.
before they were never able to satisfy that. And you can help yourself on the humidity side with an MPF furnace, which I know a lot of people have issues with, because I deal with it on the opposite side here. We have a lot of humidity here, but like one of the basic things on comfort is it's not only the temperature, it's also the humidity and a couple other factors.
The customer can say, I want all of these, but the minute they're uncomfortable, they don't care. They call the contractor, they say, make me comfortable,
Yeah.
in whatever verbiage they say, but that's really what they're asking for. And it's easy to do with the MPF.
Yeah, and that's cool to hear that, museum type places or anything like that that really rely on humidity control.
Older
That
structures with a lot of wood features in it. I've got wood
Oh yeah,
floors or banisters or something like that. You can't dry out those structures. People don't like squeaky floors, or they're trying to preserve. So it really gives you that application. Again, you're not telling the customer no.
yeah. Like around here, when the season changes because our doors start sticking.
Sticky, right? There you go. Very, yeah, you're familiar.
It's always about the humidity, because I've been to calls and it's like it's cooling but it doesn't feel comfortable, and then you got to go down that rabbit hole of the humidity side of it, or anything else that is causing that discomfort when it's actually doing, whether it's heating or cooling, it's working properly, but you got other issues in that. So again, just a cool little thing with the MPF is you get that humidity
Right.
control.
Yeah, and even in cooling mode for you, it has a dehumidification and slow ramp, which is actually a little bit better than some of the other furnaces out there. And again, I'm going to go into the weeds here a little bit, but because we're giving you nominal airflow at those higher static pressures, which you and I already discussed, that's the world we live in, that you could actually select that. In some furnaces that have it, you may not be able to select it because you're already short on airflow as it is based off of your static pressure. Here, you've got plenty of airflow in your airflow bank, so you can actually select that dehumidification slow ramp without worrying about going out on high head pressure with the
Okay.
outdoor equipment. Again, for Texas, by the coast, you get a little bit more dehumidification on that, and that's huge, right? At that beginning where that blower starts, we really saturate that coil. We really get those saturated conditions down to where that coil is just producing a lot of water.
Yeah, and believe me, I've been around here doing a lot of little infield modifications just to try and get them comfortable, because like you said, you might not have the proper static pressure, you might not have the right airflow, and then you're over here doing like these little tweaks just to get it to work. And then
Just to hope to get a little bit for the customer to give them that comfort they want. And I would argue with the
and
NPF.
that's all they care about. I just want
Yeah,
to
that
like
is.
I want to point out, like, that's all they care about, because I've done things just to get them more airflow in certain areas, or getting them just the comfort. That's what they care about. Like if the unit is struggling and they have all these issues, it's like, what can we do just to get it work to be comfortable in this area.
Sure.
Is there any as far as like maintenance, any extra maintenance that has to be done to this? Do you feel like it's easier, or
I don't, there's nothing really, and I guess I would argue there's less maintenance. So
because
if
yeah,
I'm
there's quite
going
a bit of
for
maintenance on like the gas side of things, on
right,
when you have heat exchangers, checking for cracks, because that's a common thing, and stuff like that. But on the
you're not
MPF,
doing that with our product. It is a little bit easier. A couple of things. Let's think that maybe the contractor's coming there for a clean and check preseason. On other furnaces, you would, like you said, you would maybe do a heat exchanger inspection to make sure. You would check your pressure switches to make sure you're venting, you're drawing through, and you're inducing the correct draft. You don't have a rollout situation. You're gonna then check the flame sensor. You're gonna see, okay, do I have, or is it producing a hot enough flame that I'm not going to have a nuisance lockout? And then maybe you'll do a combustion check. You'll get your combustion analyzer out, and then if somebody hasn't before, you didn't before, you're going to drill a hole in the flue and you're going to put your combustion analyzer there, and that could potentially be a safety issue, but that's how we do it in the industry. Well, with the MPF, we give you inside of it, it's behind a small little door. You're going to undo a little bit of a screw, and this door falls down. You pull the little plug out, and you put your combustion analyzer in there. You're not drilling a hole. So
Okay.
that's easier in itself. We don't have pressure switches. So what you're going to do is you're just going to go into that service wizard. You're going to run that through. It's going to check. It's going to fire the furnace. It's going to check your flame sensor. It's going to check the gas. It's going to check everything to make sure that everything is good to go for the rest of the season. And that's huge. And I'm not field inducing a failure. Trust me, I've done that a lot in my careers to where, okay, I'm checking a flame sensor. I have to unplug something because the older furnace didn't have to check on the control board, the little flame sensing pad. So I have to go in between, and then when I unplug that, plugs break, or maybe I plug it back in and now it's not reading correctly, stuff like that. You don't have to do any of that with the MPF. It's all on that front panel. Plus reliability. It is spark ignition, hot surface igniters. I'm not a fan of them. I guess that's where the industry has gone. They're very fragile, sometimes temperamental, depending on what furnace you are running with. We can't deny, you've seen it plenty of times on the low temp side and or the commercial side. Spark ignition is the most reliable way to light or produce flame. The reason why, and again, my opinion, that I believe that they went out of it is it's kind of loud, that tick, 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 tick.
Oh, yeah.
And, customers just don't want to hear their furnace light. Well, you don't hear that with the MPF on how we produce that spark in that ignition. You don't even hear this thing light. You'll hear the little inducer ramp up and down, but you're going to hear that on any other furnace, but that's it. So really, from a maintenance side, I'm not doing anything more, and some would argue less than I would with any other furnace, depending on the age, the vintage, and the maker.
And then you bring up the analyzer. A lot of people don't even do that. Like you said, it might not have been done. Then you got to drill into it. So when you make it easily accessible, like you guys did, I didn't even know that. To check it, then more than likely the technician will just go ahead and do it if it's already there. Well, noise was another one. I think I've heard a lot of people say that, or I've heard of a couple that were installed, and the noise was a big difference. Whereas like you might hear like a little jet engine type of noise on your old furnace, and then you get this MPF, and it's pretty quiet, right?
Yes, yeah, it is. It is really quiet, especially because it's our combustion heat exchanger, and how a lot of the noise comes from on other furnaces comes from the gas train, each one of the burner orifices through. And you could hear that depending on the maker or the relative location of the furnace to the living quarters. If it's not in a basement, if it's in a closet in the living room or wherever. That's an issue. And with the MPF, it's not. We've got that full variable speed blower motor, so that soft ramp. You also, based off of on the side of the blower motor, there is this piece of metal on the bottom which stiffens our blower motor bracket. So even you don't hear some of the complaints on other manufacturers when that ECM blower motor starts. ECM motors have to locate, so they rock back and forth. Clunk, clunk. Ours does that, but you don't hear it because that extra mass, we're not getting that shuffling or that clunking through, transferred into, and then echoing through the ductwork. So that, from a comfort level, you don't even hear it all the way up to the firing. You'll hear the inducer motor, maybe depending on that, but it's not much. So, and we're inducing draft on the intake side, not the exhaust. So we don't have to ramp as aggressively as maybe some of our competitors are, because they're drawing through the heat exchanger and the secondary.
Yeah, my parents had their furnace in a closet in the middle of the house. So like every time we had the heater turn on or anything like that, you would hear that thing roar up. We actually had our water heater not too far from it either, and those things going off with the gas, we had gas growing up, so like all that you would hear it. And nowadays, I mean, that is important to people too. Is not only with the furnace, like you have a quiet furnace, but also with any condensing unit that they buy now, they want to know how quiet it is, and that's a big selling point too.
Huge. It's huge. Yeah. And we'll have to have that conversation a little bit later when we launch our product. I can't divulge a lot of the information. I've been sworn to secrecy. They the product management talks to the training guys, and we say, hey, we won't tell when we
Hmm.
ask questions, and we cross our fingers, and then we tell everybody. Be like, well, they asked. So I can't divulge some of that, but I think that we'll get back on here and have that discussion when we launch our outdoor product. It will be modulating, and
Well,
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised of where that lands, even in the decibel range.
well, that's really cool because I've been talking to other guys that are installing, all these newer inverters, heat pumps, stuff like that, and I'm trying to get their opinion because I know pretty soon ours is going to be up for a change out because I still have an R22 system, which
Oh goodness.
we're holding on to, but I would, for efficiency, I would like to change it out at some point and before it gives out. But yeah, I've been trying to ask like which one's better, which one, like this and this, and seeing the furnace that you guys did, I think a lot of people are asking me like, why aren't they doing an outdoor unit? I feel like it was just like a kind of like the first domino in place, and then
Yeah.
you get into it, and then who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes out.
Yeah, the 454B is really the changer of why we haven't launched an outdoor product. We really just kind of want to, that's where everybody is going. That's where the industry is going. Other OEMs have already launched their 454B products. So we really wanted to kind of not stand out in the market. And again, I'm speaking from a technical side of it is we are like everybody else in that instead of like we've seen, you mentioned R22, from the R22 to the 410A, we really didn't want to add any burden to the contractor. Even let's say that, and again, I'm not part of those meetings. Let's say that it was cost effective to launch a 410A product. Think about this. If the customer buys our 410A product right now and then it goes to 454B, that's two more jugs that they have to have worth of refrigerant and to
Yeah.
reclaim, plus everything else to service that equipment, just to service the legacy equipment for the Navien. So we're just kind of, that's a really good line to start from.
Hmm.
Furnace, here it is in a retrofit application or whatever outdoor equipment you're currently comfortable with. Install it. And then when we launch our 454B, when everybody else launches it, you really have the whole Navien product line at that point.
Yeah, and it's really cool. You get like this hydronic furnace in this really neat form factor,
Sure.
pretty compact to me, and super efficient with all the bells and whistles that you need. Um, yeah, and to kind of go off your topic there, like I talk to a lot of residential guys, so like they're having to see where the industry is going. Like you said, it's looking like 454 is more of the ones that manufacturers are using because there is also the R32 that some might use. So they
Sure.
gotta carry everything. Some of them don't even carry R22 anymore. They're like, no, one, like because they can't carry that many.
I mean,
They're
it's
like,
like six, or you, depending on which way you go, you could technically have 6 to 8 refrigerant bottles on your. I mean,
I
yes,
do
it's crazy to talk about, right?
I do refrigeration. So I have a 4 rack uh tank rack in my van. It's already filled up. And
Right.
what I had in my older van was like last year, I had to have two of those tank racks filled up. And this one I was like, I can't do it. I had to keep adding refrigerants. So I'm like, okay, now my recovery tanks are gonna stay behind and I'm just gonna like pick
Sure.
those up as I need them. Like we're having to deal with more refrigerants and stuff like that. That's been a whole topic that I've gone over a few times. Like I do refrigeration, so I still have the refrigerant for like the coolers or freezers
You've got the low temp stuff you even have to deal
and
with. So
and
you're
yeah,
you're even more extreme.
and the AC equipment. And now I
Right.
got to figure out, am I going to carry the two new ones or which one I'm going to go with, or like it's a whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I think waiting was a good bet there.
Yeah.
Seeing how the industry turns out. So as far as like closing this out, I don't want to keep you too long. As
Sure.
far as like advantages, like if somebody was looking at this and you're trying to tell them why to pick a Navien MPF over like a typical furnace, whether it's just your gas furnace or electric. I think everything here is electric right now. What are your main advantages for this?
Comfort, reliability, and ease of setup. And comfort even goes again from a homeowner standpoint, the humidity that we touched on, or even picking whatever thermostat that they want without sacrificing comfort or functionality. And from a contractor standpoint, the ease of serviceability and the ease to take care of the customer. Callbacks are expensive. So if I misdiagnose the furnace and have to come back again, we just don't even want to talk about that. I can be confident at sending my tech, and it doesn't have to be my one tech that's the 10-year senior. If they came out of tech school, if they can answer a couple of questions and they understand the industry, then they can be confident in troubleshooting, they can be confident in installing, they can be confident in troubleshooting and maintaining this piece of equipment.
And I will say the callback thing is huge if you guys are taking that into account, because I am honest in my videos. I do a lot of videos at work, installing things, working on things, and I ripped into one walk-in manufacturer because I had really dumb callbacks, like plugs coming undone because they weren't like strapped, they weren't secured, wires just hanging, stuff like that I'm like, guys, come on, like, callbacks are the most annoying and expensive thing, because I do commercial. I'm driving 2 hours sometimes to these locations. I think that one was an hour away. I was like, I can't do that for just a cable that came unplugged, because now like for that specific manufacturer, when we install it, I will go and look at the wiring and I will put my own zip ties. That's just the extra step that I take now, because I already know from experience.
Right.
So
not going to have to do that with the Navien. Don't have to bring your extra part. Yeah.
So I hope.
Although I do want to say, on the parts side of that, we do have the parts kit, and that is for the MPF. So you could roll around with extra parts in your truck. And that's a huge thing, which is kind of industry leaning. We've seen it in the plumbing side, but really kind of unheard of from the heating and air side.
No, and that's a good point, because that manufacturer, they started selling like a kit, but it was like to retrofit older equipment to use electronic, and I was like, I'm probably gonna get that just to have the part with me, because it comes with some of the parts that I need. And I forgot to ask you about that. As far as like parts and stuff, so you're gonna have a kit that you can have spare parts with. That's big too.
Yeah, it's huge. We're not trying to undercut or anything like that the wholesaler. We know that the wholesaler has that, but let's face it, some of the wholesalers understand Navien and understand the value to that. So in a warranty application, you as the contractor can take care of the customer and don't even have to go order the part and then come back. It's there, and you can just swap that out, submit the warranty ticket, and move on. And that's huge, and it allows even the wholesaler to support you as a technician. It frees them up for extra time for doing other stuff, or can focus on growing you as a contractor, which is really where the wholesalers have stepped up in this industry.
No, it's big, because right now I just picked up some warranty work for a certain manufacturer, and the customer has to wait a week or two, and then by the time the part gets in, I might be on another job or another stuff scheduled, and then I got to schedule them, and like it takes a while.
And then you're working that in, and then next thing you know, you're just sleeping in your van, and we don't want that.
So it's good to have a kit. That's awesome. And then like even if it's out of warranty, because how many times, I go to a supply house and they don't have it that day, and then they're like trying to sell you a universal part. You go to the job site, the universal part doesn't fit or doesn't do what you need it to do, and then you got to go back.
You have to adjust it to the point to where you hope that it's there. And universal parts have their place in industry, just on really aged out equipment with maybe a budget concerned customer, and that's really the limitation. Everything else is, OEM parts are where it's at. So, and like you said, some of the wholesalers they're not keeping the inventory in house, and it is frustrating from that side, from the technician side of it.
They've been getting better about it. I will give them that, and I've been seeing more that I can get quicker. But I mean, sometimes you still got to wait a day or two to get it in.
The other thing is that we come with 3 fuses on ours. There's 1 in it, and then there's 2 extras that come with it. It used to only come with 1. They hired me. Now it comes with 2.
Okay,
So
that's good to hear.
Yeah. It comes with some extra parts on that in our parts kit, just like you would. But yeah, it actually comes with extra fuses, and most manufacturers give you extra fuses.
Yeah, I appreciate the extra fuses, because it might get through one, or you might not even have fuses on some of this equipment, and then that board just fries out. So
and it's done. Yeah, we've got and Navien, because a lot of our stuff is made in house. Right, we're not going to another manufacturer and saying, okay, I need a control board with this specs, and they go to their shelf and they say this one kind of meets where it's at. We make a majority of all of our parts for our equipment, which really allows us to build in those checks and balances throughout.
Well, that's good to hear. And then, like you said earlier, you're pretty confident with your static pressure as far as ECM failures, because that's a big deal on a lot of newer equipment.
If you were ever considering an MPF, hopefully that this kind of takes some of the concerns away. We are doing training everywhere. We're trying to get the word out and let everybody know that this furnace is just like any other furnace. It may look a little bit different, and you may be familiar with our water product and go, wait a minute, they do HVAC now? It just makes sense, and that's what all of the contractors that I've done trainings for, and our other trainers have. They get to the end of the training, they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, where can I get it, or how many are in stock at the wholesaler? I've got a couple applications I can install this now." So hopefully that does. If any of the listeners, anybody has any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to Navien. You can call our tech support line. You can talk to one of the wholesalers. We are very accessible. Just ask. We'd love to address any of those concerns that they may have about this product.
That's awesome. A lot of benefits on the stuff that you guys are doing with the MPF, and I will be sure to leave any way to contact Navien in the description. If you guys want to go check them out, you can also go to navieninc.com. And thank you for taking the time to sit down and explain all this new technology to us.
Not a problem. Anytime you want to talk shop, you just give me a holler. We'll go from there, and then we'll talk when we launch the outdoor product. We'll continue the conversation there.
I can't wait to see how that looks, man. That'll be exciting. So everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys for coming in and tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.